Catholic chaplain Emil Kapaun is receiving the Medal of Honor posthumously for his extraordinary heroism while serving in the U.S. Army in Korea on both the battlefield and as a prisoner of war. And we have joining with us his nephew, Ray Kapaun, that is. And Ray, we're so happy to have you with us. And if you could just start off by telling us a little bit about your uncle and maybe some of the stories that you heard. I know that you weren't around while he was alive, but maybe some of the stories that your family has shared throughout the course of your life.
Well, my uncle, Father Emil, was a very exceptional man. He was an exceptional priest and an exceptional soldier. He was someone who, everything that he did, he led by example. And his devotion to his faith and devotion to his country and devotion to the guys on the battlefield that he fought beside was just immense. I mean, it's easy to see that when you talk to any of the POWs that made it out of that camp alive, of how much he meant to them and what he did for them to get them out of there alive and give them some kind of hope. He was just he was an incredible man, but he was just a simple person as well. I mean, he solved problems with the ease of just simple issues. He'd have a problem come up and he was able to look at something and come up with an easy solution. One of the great examples that I can always think of is when my grandmother would always tell the story. We'd go out there to her place and she'd always tell the story of when her and Grandpa had to go into town and do some work and left Father Emil at home to take care of the chores, and one of those chores ended up having to be milking the cow that only my grandmother could milk. I mean, it was she was the only one that could get close to it. It was the only cow that she just would not let anybody else around it. And but Father Emil was assigned a chore and he was going to get that chore done. So he goes out to the barn, and of course the cow wouldn't have anything to do with him. It wouldn't stand still. It wouldn't even let him get close. And Father, trying to figure out some way to come up with an answer to it, finally had an idea. So he heads back into the house and he opens up Grandma's closet and pulls out one of her old dresses that she uses to do all the chores. And he goes over and pulls down the old bonnet that she'd wear, and she'd take it off and he tied it on, and he goes out and does the way Grandma would walk across the yard and walks out to the barn, and sure enough, he gets the job done. I mean, the cow stands perfectly still. He gets everything finished, and that's the type of man he was. That was the type of priest he was, and that was the type of soldier he was. He was always there to help. He always did what he had to do, and he always knew what he had to do.
What's it been like for you personally to hear some of the prisoner of wars that were with your uncle, and to have them say the things that they've been saying about him, how they touched them for life and how they saved their lives? And what's that? How's that feel to you personally to have your uncle be this person that so many people looked up to, so many people were inspired by?
For me, it's incredible. I mean, for me, it is such an honor to have these guys who made it out of POW camp to talk about my uncle, but more just to talk about Father Emil, of what he did for them and how unselfish he was, and all the support and all the belief that he tried to give them, and he never, he wasn't a person that would preach to them. I mean, he was out there. They all got to know him as a soldier. He would, very seldom would he come up to them and start right off making sure that they knew he was a priest. They always started off making sure that he knew he was a soldier and making sure he was one of the guys that was going to stand there beside him and fight. He was one of the guys that was going to dig a latrine if he had to. I mean, he was never somebody who was ever going to ask anybody to do something that he wouldn't do. And to hear these guys talk about how he did things is just, it's incredible. I mean, it's just, it makes you very humble. It's hard to describe what that feeling is, but for me, for these guys to be here at this ceremony and to be able to finally see all the stories that they told and all the things that they talked about, to finally see what they knew should happen is just an incredible feeling.
And just to take it further, I know this has been in the works for a while, but just to have it finally come to fruition, to receive this Medal of Honor, what has that meant for your family?
For our family, it's because we've known about this for a lot of years. I mean, we grew up hearing about the Medal of Honor and hearing people talk about it, but for it to happen now, it just seems to have such a special meaning, because there's been so much talk and so much interest, and so many people who know Father Emil now who may have not known him 20 years ago, may have not known him 30 years ago. And for me, I see it as it's just going to be that much more that his legacy is going to go on, that much more that his life's going to be told. Somebody else is going to tell somebody else, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow. And you know, I look at this time of when it's happening, and I really believe this is the greatest time for this to happen.
Well, we thank you so much, Ray, for being with us and for taking time to share the stories about your uncle, and we wish you all the best in your family as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.